38 seconds. That is how long Mitt Romney needed to completely shatter Kash Patel's confirmation and trigger a Republican civil war that would dominate headlines for weeks. What started as routine committee questioning became a devastating indictment of Trump loyalism from the party's most principled conservative voice. When Romney methodically dismantled Patel's qualifications with constitutional precision, America witnessed the exact moment the Republican Party's soul was exposed, and the MAGA wing's furious response would reveal just how far the party had fallen from its founding principles. At exactly 2:23 p.m. in the Senate Judiciary Committee's ornate chamber, Mitt Romney walked in carrying the moral authority of someone who had spent a lifetime defending conservative principles over personal loyalty. The Utah Republican, former presidential nominee, and the party's most prominent Trump critic had prepared for this moment with the methodical precision that made him both revered by constitutional conservatives and despised by Trump's base. Behind Romney sat a room divided against itself. Traditional Republican senators like Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski watched with barely concealed anticipation, knowing Romney would articulate concerns they shared but rarely voiced so directly. Across the aisle, Trump loyalists like Josh Hawley and Ted Cruz prepared for damage control, their staff already drafting social media responses to defend Patel from their own party's attack. The stakes couldn't have been higher for both the Republican Party and American democracy. Romney held the deciding vote on Patel's confirmation in a closely divided committee. More importantly, his voice carried unique weight as the party's 2012 standard bearer, and its most consistent advocate for institutional integrity over personal loyalty. Across the witness table sat Kash Patel, Trump's hand-picked FBI director nominee, whose entire career had been built on opposing everything Romney represented. Patel's dark suit was perfectly pressed, his American flag pinned positioned precisely. But behind his confident facade lurked the unmistakable tension of someone who knew he was about to face the Republican Party's most feared institutional conservative. C-SPAN cameras captured every micro-expression as Romney opened his folder with deliberate precision. Unlike the theatrical confrontations typical of committee hearings, Romney's approach would be surgical, a systematic dismantling of Patel's fitness based purely on conservative constitutional principles. "Mr. Patel," Romney began, his voice carrying the measured authority of someone who had governed businesses and states before ever seeking political office, "I want to discuss your understanding of the FBI's role in our constitutional system and your fitness to lead this critical institution." Patel straightened slightly, recognizing that he was facing a different type of interrogation than the partisan theater he had prepared for. "Senator Romney, I am committed to leading the FBI with integrity and dedication to the rule of law." But Romney wasn't interested in prepared talking points. He opened a file that would systematically destroy Patel's credibility from a conservative perspective. "Mr. Patel, in your previous congressional testimony, you described career FBI agents as government gangsters who needed to be cleaned out. Do you stand by that characterization?" The question was devastating because it came from Romney's conservative credentials. This wasn't liberal criticism. It was institutional conservatism defending law enforcement professionals. "Senator, I believe accountability is essential for any federal agency," Patel deflected. But Romney was already setting his next trap. "Accountability? Yes. But you didn't call for accountability. You called career law enforcement professionals gangsters. Do you understand why that language concerns conservative supporters of law and order?" The framing was lethal. Romney was positioning himself as the defender of conservative law enforcement values against Patel's radical rhetoric. Romney continued with surgical precision. "Mr. Patel, you've repeatedly praised foreign authoritarian leaders, including Viktor Orban and Vladimir Putin, for their approach to law enforcement. Can you explain how admiring authoritarian policing methods aligns with conservative American values?" Patel's face began losing color as Romney quoted his own words back to him. "Senator, I believe strong leadership is important in law enforcement." "Strong leadership, yes. But you specifically praised Putin's methods for dealing with political opposition. Are you suggesting American law enforcement should adopt Russian approaches to political dissent?" The comparison was devastating coming from Romney, whose anti-Russian credentials were impeccable among conservatives, but Romney was just beginning his systematic demolition. He pulled out another document that would expose Patel's fundamental unfitness from a constitutional perspective. "Mr. Patel, in your book Government Gangsters, You advocate for what you call comprehensive surveillance of American citizens you describe as domestic enemies. Can you define domestic enemies for this committee? The question struck at the heart of constitutional conservatism. Romney was forcing Patel to defend surveillance state tactics that violated every principle of limited government. Senator, I believe we must be vigilant against threats to our constitutional republic. Patel responded weakly. Vigilant, yes. But you advocate surveillance of American citizens without defining what makes them enemies. Mr. Patel, do you understand why unlimited surveillance power concerns constitutional conservatives? Romney was systematically exposing how Patel's ideology contradicted core conservative principles of limited government and individual rights. Then Romney delivered the question that would define the hearing and trigger a Republican civil war. Mr. Patel, you've stated that your primary qualification for FBI director is loyalty to President Trump. Can you explain how personal loyalty to any individual aligns with the FBI director's oath to the Constitution? The chamber fell silent. Romney had just articulated what every institutional conservative was thinking, but few dared say that Trump loyalism was fundamentally incompatible with constitutional governance. Senator, I am committed to serving the American people under the direction of the constitutionally elected president. Patel attempted to deflect. That is not what you said, Mr. Patel. You said your qualification was loyalty to President Trump, not loyalty to the Constitution or the rule of law. Do you see the difference? The distinction was crucial and devastating. Romney was forcing Patel to choose between personal loyalty and constitutional duty. Romney then pulled out the document that would destroy any remaining Republican support for Patel. Mr. Patel, this is your social media post from January 2021. I quote, "The deep state coup against President Trump requires total war. No quarter for traitors. Can you explain what you meant by total war against American citizens?" The post was indefensible from any conservative perspective. Romney had found language that exposed Patel as a radical extremist rather than a law and order conservative. Senator, that post reflected frustration with institutional resistance to democratic elections. Patel lamely explained. Frustration, Mr. Patel, you called for total war against American citizens and described federal employees as traitors. This isn't conservative rhetoric, it is radical extremism. The characterization from Romney was lethal because of his conservative credentials. When the 2012 Republican nominee called someone a radical extremist, it carried unique weight within the party. But Romney saved his most devastating attack for last. He leaned forward with the intensity of someone about to deliver a knockout blow. Mr. Patel, I want to read you the FBI Director's oath of office. I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and will bear true faith and allegiance to the same. Romney paused for effect before continuing. Your public statements suggest your allegiance is to an individual, not the Constitution. Your rhetoric suggests American citizens are enemies to be surveilled. Your admiration for authoritarian tactics contradicts constitutional principles. Based on this record, how can any conservative senator vote to confirm you? For 38 seconds, Kash Patel sat in complete silence. The cameras captured every moment of his total breakdown as he realized Romney had systematically destroyed his confirmation from a conservative perspective he couldn't attack or dismiss. His hands gripped the witness table. Sweat became visible on his forehead. The weight of constitutional principles seemed to crush his political rhetoric entirely. Finally, Patel attempted the impossible. Senator Romney, I believe my record speaks for itself in terms of dedication to conservative principles. Your record does speak for itself, Mr. Patel. And what it says is that you are unfit for any position in American law enforcement, let alone its highest office. The condemnation was total and devastating. When delivered by the Republican Party's 2012 standard-bearer, it carried authority that no Democrat could match. Romney concluded with a statement that would define the Republican Party's internal struggle for years. I entered politics to defend conservative principles of limited government, individual liberty, and constitutional governance. Mr. Patel represents the opposite of everything I believe conservatism should stand for. I cannot and will not support his confirmation. The hearing room erupted. Democratic senators applauded while Trump loyalists sat in stunned silence. realizing their carefully orchestrated confirmation had just been destroyed by their own party's most prominent conservative voice. Social media exploded within minutes, but the reaction split along party lines in unprecedented ways. Number Romney destroys Patel trended among establishment Republicans and conservative intellectuals, while Number Romney dominated Trump loyalist accounts. The Republican Party was openly warring with itself over fundamental principles. Conservative intellectuals rallied behind Romney's stance. National Review's Rich Lowry tweeted, "Romney articulated what every principled conservative was thinking. Personal loyalty is not a conservative principle." The Wall Street Journal editorial board called Romney's questioning a defense of institutional conservatism against authoritarian populism. But Trump loyalists launched immediate counterattacks that revealed the party's complete fracture. Donald Trump Jr. tweeted, "Romney proves again why Republicans lose. We need fighters, not country club weaklings." Steve Bannon called Romney a traitor to the America First movement on his podcast. Fox News anchors struggled to navigate the split. Tucker Carlson attempted to defend Patel while avoiding direct attacks on Romney, but his discomfort was obvious. Sean Hannity ignored Romney entirely, focusing on Democratic hypocrisy instead. The most revealing reactions came from other Republican senators caught between institutional loyalty and Trump loyalty. Josh Hawley attempted damage control. "Senator Romney raises important questions, but we must support qualified nominees." Ted Cruz avoided the controversy entirely, suddenly developing scheduling conflicts that prevented media availability, but moderate Republicans quickly rallied behind Romney's position. Susan Collins announced she was carefully reviewing Mr. Patel's qualifications in light of Senator Romney's concerns. Lisa Murkowski said, "Romney had raised serious questions about constitutional principles that require consideration." Within 48 hours, 3 Republican senators had announced opposition to Patel's confirmation based on Romney's constitutional arguments. The nomination that seemed assured was suddenly in serious jeopardy. Trump's response revealed how deeply Romney's attack had penetrated. Instead of his usual social media bluster, Trump was reportedly furious and feeling betrayed by his own party. Sources close to Trump described him as ranting about Romney's disloyalty while struggling to defend Patel's extreme statements. The broader implications for the Republican Party were seismic. Romney had forced a choice between constitutional conservatism and Trump loyalism that many senators had tried to avoid. His systematic dismantling of Patel from conservative principles made it impossible to support the nomination without abandoning core Republican values. Conservative legal scholars noted the unprecedented nature of such opposition from within the party. When a former Republican presidential nominee calls a Republican nominee unfit for office, it signals complete institutional breakdown, observed George Washington University's Jonathan Turley. International observers noted the significance of internal Republican resistance to authoritarian tendencies. European conservative parties, which had watched Trump's influence with concern, saw Romney's stand as evidence that traditional conservative values could still resist populist authoritarianism. The hearing's aftermath revealed fundamental tensions that had been building within the Republican Party for years. Romney had articulated what institutional conservatives had been thinking, but rarely said that Trump loyalism was incompatible with constitutional governance. Most damaging for Patel wasn't the opposition itself, but its source. Democratic attacks could be dismissed as partisan, but Romney's constitutional arguments came from unassailable conservative credentials. His methodical dismantling of Patel's fitness made defense impossible without abandoning conservative principles. The 38 seconds of silence became symbolic of a broader reckoning within the Republican Party. When faced with constitutional principle, Trump loyalism had no answer except angry deflection. Mitt Romney had accomplished something unprecedented, forcing the Republican Party to choose between its founding principles and its current political expediency. His systematic destruction of Kash Patel wasn't just about one nomination. It was about the soul of American conservatism. The message was clear. Constitutional principles and personal loyalty are incompatible when the latter demands abandoning the former. Romney's stand proved that true conservatives would choose the Constitution over any individual, no matter how politically powerful, and the Trump loyalists' furious response revealed exactly how far they were willing to go to abandon conservative principles for personal allegiance.